This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us for the Florida Advisory Council on Climate and Energy virtual meeting for today. We have a robust agenda where we're going to talk about some of the legislative bills that are before our legislature this session. I'll give you all an overview of the infrastructure package and what it means for Florida. And then we'll talk a little bit about what's going on in some of the other states as it relates to energy. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I know that a few folks will be joining us later based upon emails that they have sent, but I'm going to go ahead and check to see what members of FACCE are with us today. Dr. Norton?
Yes, here.
Okay, awesome. Dr. Amy Albee Levine?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Janet Long? Megan Houston?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Kettles?
Hi, Kelly. I'm here.
Hi, Doug. Luis Nieves Ruiz? I think I saw you on the list. Frank Stewart?
Good afternoon. I'm here. Thank you.
I'm here. I'm
Hi,
present.
Frank.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Steve Chris, I know it's going to be a little bit late. Mayor Matt Cernsey? Andrew Sauber?
Good afternoon. I'm here.
Hey. Emily Gorman?
Present.
Temperance Morgan? Susanna Randolph? Mark Brubisky? Luz Aviles? Keith Rizziti? Morgan Higman? Dr. Jennifer Languel?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Patricia Pat Steed?
Good afternoon. I'm here.
Wonderful, thank you. Sean Sullivan?
Morning, Kelly, here.
Good morning, thank you. Andrick Frazier? Burdell Knowles? All right, and Jennifer Zara?
Hi, Kelly, I'm here.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started. So just to give you an overview of the legislative session, and like I said, we'll be going through some of the energy related bills, not all of them, but some of them that we've pulled out just to bring to your attention. But our legislative session began on January 11th. March 1st is the last day for regularly scheduled committee meetings, which means that if a bill hasn't been heard in that meeting, it's likely not moving forward. And then March 11th is the last day of regular session. We are in our 4th week of the legislative session this week, and there's been some movement on some of the bills, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So what I'm going to do is give an overview. I think we've picked out 13 bills for you all, just to kind of give you an overview of what they are, where they stand now, and what committees they have to go through for approval. I would ask that, just to make sure that we can get through all of them, that you save your questions or comments for the end. If there is a bill that comes up and you have a burning comment or question, please feel free to jump in, but I'd prefer if we could save it to the end to make sure that we can get through everything. Also, one of the things that we've done, because there is a Senate House bill and a Senate bill, we've chose to more just focus on the House side and where those bills are, because it can get kind of complicated. As you'll see in the slides, we've put a lot of information on there. But I would encourage you all, we have put both bill numbers, both the House bill number and the Senate bill number, on all of these slides. And these slides will be available to you after the meeting. We'll post them to the website, and I'm happy to send them out to you. But I'd encourage you, if there's a bill that is of interest to you, that you either go to the Florida House of Representatives website or the Florida Senate website, and you can find the bill, you can track it, and you can see where it ends up in the process. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first bill we're going to bring to your attention is House Bill 201 and Senate Bill 356. It's the sales tax holiday for Energy Star and Watersense projects. It defines what Energy Star and Watersense projects are. It does a 3-day sales tax holiday, as you can see, from April 22nd to the 24th. It includes weather-based and sensor-based irrigation controls, and it's estimated to have a total fiscal impact of $5.7 million. You can see the committees on the House side that it's been referred to. So far, it hasn't come up in one of those committees, but just wanted to let you know that this is something that's out there. And we did have, just so you all know, an Energy Star and Watersense sales tax holidays several years ago. So this bill is kind of taking that forward. There's also House Bill 463 and Senate Bill 380 that relates to greenhouse gas emissions. This defines the term of greenhouse gas emissions, and it also prohibits any state agencies from adopting or enforcing state and regional programs to regulate greenhouse gas emissions without specific legislative authorization. You can see on the House side what committees it would need to go to get to the floor, and so far it has not moved through any of those committees. The next bill is House Bill 481 and Senate Bill 1332, which is temporary underground residential electric service. It prohibits local governments from preventing electric utilities from installing temporary underground power panels during residential construction. They must meet certain requirements of the electric code, and it may reduce the need for subsequent inspections as a condition of issuance of a certificate of occupancy after the initial inspection. You can see it's been through all 3 House committees, and so it will be moving to the floor. The next is House Bill 599 and Senate Bill 600, which is upgrades to education facilities as emergency shelters. This exempts costs associated with certain upgrades to education facilities from being included in certain cost per student calculations. You can see what some of the updates are, including design enhancements for hurricane protection, electrical and standby emergency power systems, and renewable energy resources and energy storage devices. It requires the cost of the upgrades to be consistent with prevailing market cost in the area where the education facility is concerned. You can see in the committees that it was referred to on the House side, it's already passed its first committee, and we'll be moving on to the next one. We also have, House Bill 737 and Senate Bill 920, which is Electric Vehicle Transportation Electrification Plan. This bill requires the PSC to adopt rules by January 1st, 2024 to facilitate the deployment of EV infrastructure in a competitively neutral manner with responsible and affordable electric rates for IOUs that offer public charging. It authorizes entities that provide EV charging to participate in commission proceedings involving rates, terms and conditions, and it allows IOUs to provide EV charging stations directly to the public, not as a rate-based asset, but through a separate unregulated corporate affiliate on the same terms and conditions as other EV charging station providers. You can see it hasn't moved from any of the committees on the House side. I can't say on the Senate side. It did move past its first committee, and I know that there are talks of looking a little bit further at this bill at the next committee stop. The next bill is House Bill 741 and Senate Bill 1024, which is the net metering bill. This requires the Public Service Commission to revise its net metering rules by January 1st, 2023. It entails that rate structures must ensure that customers with renewable energy generation pay the full cost of electric service and are not subsidized by the general body of ratepayers, that all energy delivered by the utility must be purchased at the applicable retail rate, that all energy delivered by customer generation systems to the public utility must be credited to the customer at the public utility's full avoided cost, and that billing may include fixed charges like base facility charges, electrical grid, access fees, or a monthly minimum bill to help ensure that the public utility recovers fixed costs. Net metering customers who are already in the net metering program prior to January 1st, 2023 are grandfathered in under the existing net metering rate design and rates for the next 10 years. It also requires public utilities to report the impact of net metering on the utilities revenue and cost of service steering rate-based hearings. So on the House side, you can see that it was on the agenda it's on the agenda in its first subcommittee on the House for tomorrow at 9 a.m. Our next bill is House Bill 745 and Senate Bill 1562, which is solar PV facility development. It directs the Florida Department of Environmental Protection in coordination with the Office of Energy to conduct a study of brownfield sites and closed landfill sites to determine viable locations for redevelopment as solar photovoltaic facilities. Provide study requirements, including environmental justice considerations, and the reports are due to the governor, legislature, PSC, and regional planning council chairs by August 1st of 2023. And there you can see the committees that it is has been referred to on the House side. Our next bill is House Bill 767 and Senate Bill 686, which is the Energy Security and Disaster Resilient Pilot Program. This creates a pilot program within FDACS, the Department of Agriculture, to provide grants to offset 30% of costs for on-site solar storage at facilities, such as government emergency operations centers, hospitals, assisted living facilities, public health facilities, airports, ports, facilities necessary for emergency responders, and wastewater storm management and drinking water facilities. It also directs FDACS to conduct or contract to conduct a study to publish that online and provide copies to officers by December 31st, 2023. And here you can see the committees that this bill has been referred to. Excuse me for just a moment. All right, our next one is House Bill 837 and Senate Bill 578, which is hurricane loss mitigation. It extends the hurricane loss mitigation program within the Division of Emergency Management until June 30 of 2032. The funds for the program that help improve the wind resistance of residents and public hurricane shelters, and is associated with $10 million annual appropriation from the Hurricane Catastrophe Fund are set to expire on June 30, 2022. So this would extend that. And as you can see, it was on the agenda for today at 9 a.m., which we can provide an update after this meeting of what happened with that bill. We also have House Bill 1139 and Senate Bill 954 related to energy. It revises the selection criteria for purchasing of lease vehicles or state agency, college, university, or certain local governments. It requires DMS to rank certain vehicles based on the lowest lifetime ownership cost over a specified number of years rather than just the full efficiency, and to publish the ranking to the department's website. It also requires a DMS before a specified date to make recommendations to state agencies and local governments relating to the procurement and integration of electric vehicles. As you can see, it passed its first committee stop and has moved on to the next committee. Then we have House Bill 1285 and Senate Bill 1678, which is the Energy Equity Task Force. This creates a task force adjunct to FDACS to provide recommendations for increasing renewables within minority, underserved, rural, and low-income communities. It provides for the membership and duties of the 11-person task force that would be created. It requires FDACS to provide staffing and administrative report. And the task force must submit a report detailing recommendations on policies and programs that encourage the fair and equitable transition to renewable energy sources by September 30, 2023. You can see where it is referred in the House. I know that yesterday the Senate bill was up in its committee and it passed that first committee unanimously. So on the Senate side, it will move on to its next committee. We have House Bill 1411 and Senate Bill 1338, floating solar facilities. It provides that floating solar facilities must be permitted use in appropriate land use categories in each local government's comprehensive plan. Requires each local government to amend its development regulations to promote and expand the use of floating solar facilities. And it requires the Office of Energy to submit specified recommendations to the legislature by December 30 of 2022 to provide a regulatory framework. You can see on the House side, it passed through its first committee and is on to the next committee stop. And then we have House Bill 1419 and Senate Bill 1764, which is the Municipal Solid Waste to Energy Program. It creates the Municipal Solid Waste to Energy Program within FACCE. It requires us, subject to appropriation, to provide a financial assistance and incentive grants to qualifying municipal facilities, and rulemaking to establish a process to verify the amount of electric power purchases for the program. It also directs the Department of Environmental Protection and the Public Service Commission to assist in verifying grant eligibility. And as you can see, those are the committees it has been referred to and is awaiting its first hearing. And that is a very quick rundown of some of the bills that we wanted to bring to your attention. I'm happy to take any questions or comments you may have. So I'll just open it up to the members of our FACE advisory group if you have any questions or comments.
Yeah, that is a lightning fast review, crying out loud. Jeez.
Does anyone else?
Can we get copies of some of those by request?
As I said, Frank, once the meeting is complete, we'll send out the slides to the website so that you all can take a look at them.
But can we get copies of the legislation itself? Some of those are very, very complex pieces, and I'd like to take a look and really have a chance to chew
Yes.
on.
As I said, you can, on the House website and on the Senate website, you can put in any of these bill numbers and it'll give you the option of a PDF or a Word document to take a look at the full text of the bill.
Thank you very much.
And I'll say, you know, at the onset, and I probably should have said that, this year we've had more than 3,500 bills. So we were just trying to pull out some of the ones that we thought might be of interest to you all, and just wanted to share those with you. If you want more information on them, or if you need help finding the actual text language, like I said, you can go to the House or the Senate website, or just let us know. We're happy to pull that language for you and send it to you. Just let us know what bills you're interested in. Did anyone else have any questions or comments?
Hi, Kelly. Emily Gorman here. Thank you for that overview. Deeply appreciate it. Also sorry to hear that cough in the background. I hope that that clears fully and quickly for you. I had a question about the individual pieces. This seems to be a pretty comprehensive overview of the potential items. I'm wondering if Office of Energy would express any hopes about or concerns for impacts of these potential legislation items. Anything you're hoping for, anything you're concerned about?
Thank you, Emily. And I will say I'm on the tail end of my allergies, and that's what that cough is. If any of you have lived in Tallahassee, you know this time of year is not the best for allergies. I will say our office normally doesn't comment on legislation. That's up to the commissioner to make a comment on whether the department supports a legislative bill or not. We do, when asked, will provide bill analysis to the House and to the Senate on the bills. We keep them as neutral as possible, just looking at what the bill does and what the potential effects of the bill are. and if there are any fiscal impacts that the bill would have. And we submit that to the House and the Senate. And on a lot of these bills, if you go to the House or the Senate website, you'll see where staff has put in their analysis, which we will contribute to.
And so are there any of these items that you can comment on the commissioner's position?
I cannot, because I don't know that the commissioner has taken a position on some of these bills. I know that she's looking at them, but I don't, in my mind, I have not heard her come out for or against some of the bills.
I understand that. SB 1024 and HB 741 are a particular concern to me. That seems extremely dangerous, and I would hope to see a position come forward on that. I will yield to Pat Steed.
It's this one you said, Emily, just so I can.
Yes, that's correct, the net metering.
Okay, thank you. I think I saw someone had a, hold on just a moment. Pat, your question on electric vehicles.
Yes, this is Pat Steed. My question is the particular bill that you shared with us related to electric vehicles and transportation electrification plan was House Bill 737. And I know there's probably other bills that have been proposed related to that subject. Do you have any cross-referencing information related to other bills that may be related to that?
Yes, and I can provide that to you. There are a few bills that have been filed by Senator Brandis. When we were going through and looking at what bills to provide with you, we were trying to look for the bills that had both a Senate and a House component to it. Okay. But I can certainly send you those bill numbers, and actually I can provide them to the whole group if you want to look at what those bills do. But they don't have a companion to them in the House side.
Okay, and at this point, none of them have moved from committee.
This, the electric vehicle transportation electric plan, the Senate bill has moved from its first committee. So that's okay. Senate 920. It moved from its first committee, I believe, last week or the week before. But I know there was some discussion about looking at some modifications to the bill. And I will say too, you know, with all of these bills, what we're presenting to you is as the bill is now. But as you know, throughout the process, there are amendments and changes. These bills could look very different by the time they move out of their committee process. So just want to make you all aware of that.
Right. Thank you so much.
Of course. Does anyone else have any questions or comments they'd like to make?
Hi, Kelly. It's Doug with Clean Cities. Just on 767, 686, would you feel comfortable providing just kind of an understanding for me what this 30% offset is? I heard it, but I just didn't grasp it when you were going through it.
Let me.
Oh, that's 767, 686, the energy security.
Oh, okay. And the disaster pilot program.
Yeah.
I think what it would probably be, and I'd have to go back and look at the bill, but I think what we're looking at is we would provide probably a 30%
match or.
Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, great.
For that on-site solar storage.
Right. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, of course.
This is Frank Stewart. One just final quick question, hopefully a quick question. House Bill 201 about the preventing the enforcement regarding greenhouse gas emissions. Does that apply even if they are required by the feds to do so?
I would have to ask our legal folks, but from my perspective, I mean, federal law trumps state law, so I wouldn't think it would be able to. But I'd have to, you know, double check.
Okay, it just seems like you're ready to bump heads. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
Just very grossly, does your office have the resources to do all this analysis? This is a huge agenda of stuff.
In a way, yes, we do, and in a way, no, we don't. If there are, you know, bills where they're asking us to do things, when we do our analysis, we'll let the legislature know that we might need an FTE or will need an FTE to perform it. And that goes back to them and goes into the factoring when they bring it up before the committee. Does that answer your question, Frank?
Yeah, thanks. So, but it comes down to, even if they don't give you the FTE, you still got to do it, right?
Correct. All right, are there any other questions or comments before I move on to infrastructure package? And I will say, at any point after we send these slides to you, please don't hesitate if you have any questions to reach out to us. Like I said too, if you want the bill text and aren't able to find it on the website, let us know. We'll be happy to get that to you. But just wanted to make you aware. And like I said, if you go to the House or the Senate website, you can put in these bills and you can put in a tracking system too. They have that capability because that's what we use sometimes. And it'll send you emails as the bill moves or doesn't move, so that you can keep track if there are particular bills that you're interested in. All right, so with that, I'm going to move on to our overview of the federal infrastructure package. This is quite a big package for all of us, and there are a lot of dollars that are going to be coming down to the state in various aspects. So I'm going to go over some of the formula funds which come directly to offices. There's no competitive grant process that you have to apply to. And then I'm going to talk about just a couple of the competitive areas that we as a state might be interested in pursuing. Please note that at this point, we are waiting for guidance and the ability to apply for these funds, because even though that it's a formula fund that comes down, we still have to send an application to the Department of Energy that lets them know what we're planning to do with the funds. So it's going to be a process. But first, I'm going to go over, these are the numbers for the federal funds that are formula funds. So these are funds that will come directly to the state with no competitive grant program. And these are the funds that we have been told by DOE will, especially the first three state energy programs, Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant, and the Weatherization Assistance Program, will be the first funding mechanisms that are released because their formula can go to the states, and then later they'll release competitive grant funding. So in the state energy program, which comes directly to the Office of Energy, there is $500 million that was appropriated. It's estimated that Florida will receive over $18 million to that. The state energy program is a funding program that looks at energy efficiency, renewable energy, even vehicles in some points, but how to incorporate that within facilities around the state, and looking at how to increase that not only in like government facilities, but also looking at it from an energy security side, and how can renewable energy play into some of the emergency shelter work that we've been doing as a state. There's also the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant. This is $550 million. It's estimated that 3.6 will come to the Florida Office of Energy. There's also another category. So EECBG is split. So if you have a population over 35,000, you get direct funding from the federal government. So some of the communities like your Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa, some of the larger cities and counties will get direct funding under this grant. Populations of 35,000 and less, that's what the $3.6 million to our office is for, and that's to make sure that those smaller populations communities get funding for energy efficiency programs within their local communities. That EECBG grant will go to communities. It'll pass through our office to communities of 35,000 or less. The Weatherization Assistance Program has I left off some zeros there, my apologies. $3.5 billion. And this will go to, of course, helping low-income housing, residential housing programs to be more energy efficient and to come up to code. So it's estimated that out of the 3.5 billion, Florida will get 32 million plus. That will go directly to the Weatherization Office, which is housed in the Department of Economic Opportunity. Excuse me. And then under EV infrastructure, that was also a $5 billion program. It's estimated that 198 million will go to the Florida Department of Transportation to invest in EV infrastructure within the state of Florida. Frank, I see your question. So once the guidance is issued, the state will have 5 years under the infrastructure bill to spend out the money. When the funds will be available is all based upon the federal agencies and when they release the guidance. We did get, yesterday or Monday, the White House released a guidebook law on the infrastructure bill. So they've put some timeframes in there. So I know like Weatherization and SEP, I think they put the time frame of second quarter of this year. For EECBG, they've put in the fall of 2022. So we'll see. It all depends on when the agencies release their guidance as to when the funds would be available. But we do have a 5-year time period to spend those funds. And those are the formula grants. So there are some opportunities in the competitive grants that we just wanted to make you aware of. There's $40 million available for energy auditor training. That $40 million is available for states to apply to. So we as the state energy office would need to apply for that. And out of that, about $2 million is the max for each state for energy audit training. Excuse me. There's also the energy efficiency and renewable energy improvements at public schools grant. That's $550 million. That grant is for states, schools, school districts to apply to look at energy efficiency or renewable energy within their public schools. Their building energy codes technical assistance and training program, $225 million that will be open for states to apply to. There's a smart manufacturing technology implementation, that's $50 million that will be available for companies to apply to look at their manufacturing practices and how to make that more energy efficient. There's also a battery recycling grant for $110 million that will be open, that will be open for state and local programs to apply to. So that's kind of a rough overview from the energy aspect. I know that there are other opportunities in the transportation sector, broadband sector, and other sectors, but this is what we're focusing on because this will is mostly in our space and in our area of what we work on. So we are in the process now of just preparing for when it comes down. So as you see these competitive grant programs, if there's an area that you're interested in, please let us know. And as we get more information, we'll be happy to pass it along. because it's competitive. Like I said, it will be released after the formula grant, so I would anticipate late this year, early next year before some of these come out, but you never know. But right now we're in the process of thinking through these and looking at making sure that we're prepared so that when the actual RFP or NOFA comes out, we're able to move quickly to apply to it. So like I said, if you have any interest in this, please just let us know, because we'll be happy to work with you. So I know that was also a lot of information, but I'm gonna open it up if anyone from the FACCE Advisory Council has any questions or comments or thoughts they'd like to share.
Hey Kelly, this is Jen Zaro. I just have a question about the energy auditor training opportunity. Are they, have they stipulated what technologies or approaches, whether in person or remote, would be included in that?
They have not at this juncture. The only thing we know so far is that the state energy offices are the only ones that can apply to it. And it's a max grant of, like I said, $2 million per state. So I think that we'll have to wait to see when they put out either a request for information or the request for proposals, what they're looking for. But I think generally they'll be open to what the state is most comfortable with. But as I get more information on that, Jen, I'm happy to pass that along to you.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, right now we're just really working off a lot of the summaries that have come from the infrastructure bill itself. There's not really, like I said, a whole lot of guidance or information other than what's in the bill at this juncture. But I know that DOE is working on it, and as soon as they can, I know they'll give us more information so we can plan and move forward. Are there any questions or comments?
Hi, Kelly. I have 3 questions, 2 clarifying and then 1 on a related topic. I just want to make sure I'm understanding the timeline on competitive grants correctly. You're saying in late 2022, early 2023 is when we expect to have a scope and information on an RFP. Is that correct?
That is what we are anticipating. Because what we know is that the formula grants, which are these grants right here, and I'm going to take off the EV infrastructure because that's the Department of Transportation, but I know the weatherization is going to be the first program that comes out. And then I know that'll be followed by the state energy program and then the energy efficiency and conservation block grant. We as states have asked DOE when they're looking at the competitive to stagger those and not put them all out at once, because there is a lot of time and energy and manpower that goes into putting in these, to putting together an application, as many of you know. And so they're listening to that. So based upon the timeline, that's what I'm guesstimating. I'm hoping that within the next few weeks, we'll have a clearer timeline of when the competitives are coming out, and even more so when the formula grants will be available. And we can share that with you as we get the information. It's just what we're speculating, what I'm speculating, based upon conversations that I've had with DOE and what they're looking at as far as releasing some of these programs.
I would certainly appreciate that, sharing of information as it becomes available. And that gets to my other clarifying question, which is about the formula grants. So assuming they were staggered after guidance is released, how can you give us a sense of how the Office of Energy makes decisions to deploy these funds based on that guidance?
Yeah, some of them, and some of it we're confined to because of how the Federal Code of Regulation works. So there's a federal code that dictates what you can do with state energy program funding, what you can do with energy efficiency and conservation block grant funding. And so we have to stay in those parameters. A lot of what we look at, and again, I will say we're open to suggestions. So if you have thoughts, we're happy to hear them. But what we kind of look at is, you know, programs that we've had in the past that have been oversubscribed recently in the past, like the last couple of years, because every year we get a normal appropriation of state energy program funding. So this is just an 18 million on top of what we normally get. And so we're looking at, what's been oversubscribed, where do we see a need? A lot of what we're going to look at with the state energy program and the energy efficiency and conservation block program, pending when they come out, is, we're working on that energy equity study, and that is supposed to provide some recommendations for policies and programs. So we'll look at that too. I will say, and I forgot to mention this, and my apologies, in all of these programs, especially the formula, I believe we're going to have to look at the President's Justice 40 initiative, which is that 40% of federal funding has to go to low-income, underserved communities in order to look at how to lift those communities up. And so a lot of what our program funding, when it does come down, is going to have to look at those and how we incorporate that. So there's some layers on top of this too. But that's essentially what we look at. We look to see, when we talk to our stakeholders, what they're interested in, what their needs are, so that we can make sure that our programs are serving our communities that need it the most. But if you have thoughts or ideas, like I said, we're open to hearing them. So don't.
Could I follow a couple follow-on comments to that last question?
Sure.
One, given the shape and size of Florida, will it be an issue related to geographic equity in terms of the needs of South Florida competes with the needs of Panhandle as compared with the needs of North Florida? And two, regarding the development of those criteria, could we as a committee or as individuals be of any assistance as you start to think through and develop those kinds of issues?
Yes, definitely. We would like your expertise and your thoughts, and we can certainly share with you as we know more and as we're looking at program development, what we're thinking about. A lot of our programs, I will say though, Frank, we don't gear toward a particular geographic region. It's normally a competitive program, so we open it up to everybody. So it's just a matter of who applies and what applications are eligible. We don't. A lot of times with the federal funds, it has to be, and with state regulations, we have to make sure it's an open competitive program and that everyone has the ability to apply. I mean, we can put some parameters around it, but we mostly like to keep it open so that everyone has an opportunity.
The energy needs of some of the communities up north are much different than the energy needs of communities here in South Florida. So just
of course. And so we make sure that we design the programs too that are open, so that when they're applying, they can design the program based upon what their needs are. We totally understand that. We try to make all of the processes open as possible so that all needs are being addressed. And to your question too, Frank, some of these programs will require in-kind or match. Some of them will not. So it's just a matter of when the guidance comes down, what that looks like.
So, it may be possible for some of our organizations to provide some in-kind support to you in developing some of these.
Yes.
On that note of providing feedback, I know I would be happy to do that. I'm sure members of this advisory council would be happy to support on that effort. It would be extremely helpful for us to have an overview with regard to the formula funds about the federal code, and to look at the programs that have or have not been oversubscribed. That would be extremely helpful in us providing the most effective feedback.
Sure, we can certainly put something together for you.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that. And I do have one peripherally related question when we get to the end of the section. I will wait for that.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments on infrastructure?
Hearing no other questions, I will go ahead and ask mine now then. This is a little bit outside of scope, so I understand that we may not have the answer to this, but it occurs to me, do we happen to know how much of the Resilient Florida grant program comes from federal dollars?
I do not know that, but we can certainly find that out for you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Sure. And that's the Resilient Florida program comes from Fed dollars.
Yep. How much of the Resilient Florida grant program is fed by federal dollars? That's right. Thank you, Kelly.
Certainly. Any other questions or comments on infrastructure? All right. I'm going to move on because Frank asked this question at our last meeting about updates of what other state energy offices are working on. And I will say this, that I will probably have more information on this after next week, because next week our National Association of State Energy Officials, NASEO, which is the organization that represents all the state energy offices, will be having their annual meeting. Just so you all know, I'm chair of NASEO. I was last year and will be this year. And so at least I think about 40 states will be there, and that's normally when we give each other some updates on some of the things that we're working on. So I'm happy to include this portion of it or this section as a standard in all of our meetings, just to give you kind of an update of where other states are looking. I can say, based upon the last section, a lot of states are really focused on the infrastructure package. It's a lot of dollars that will be coming down to the states that we can use to, like I said, subsidize some of the programs that are undersubscribed or create some new programs that would have a big impact within our states. So I think that's what a lot of our conversation will be next week at NASEO. I can say I know that in like the western part of the states, there's a lot of conversation about hydrogen and looking at how that can be utilized for power systems as well as transportation. In the Southeast, we have been working on a Southeast Regional Electric Vehicle initiative that looks at how we connect our infrastructure between each of our southern states, especially as we're looking at people moving around our states, but also as it relates to when we have natural disasters or emergencies and we're looking at evacuations, because as you know, in the Southeast, there's a lot of coastal states, and what that looks like and how we can work together to make sure that our infrastructure is in place so that when you do have an electric vehicle and you're looking at going from Florida to Tennessee or Kentucky, you can do that smoothly. So that's a group that we've been heavily involved in. I know a lot of the states too are working through a program that the Department of Energy put together called the Technical Advisory Group. In this group, there are a number of states that are looking at, including us, how we look at using renewable energy in our critical needs facilities. So how can we look at using renewable energy or storage to make sure that one of our critical infrastructure can keep moving and functioning as we may experience power outages. So that's a program that we just kicked off last year, and I think we have about 15 states that are involved in that from all over the United States that are looking at different impacts. And that's kind of, I will say, the rundown for now. Like I said, I'm happy to include this as a portion of our meetings in the future, just to update you on what's going on. But I'll have more info, hopefully, on infrastructure and on what other state energy offices are doing after next week, because at the NASEO meeting, we will have a lot of US DOE officials, assistant secretaries, deputies, assistant secretaries who will be there. There'll be members of Congress there, as well as some other folks from the administration. So I'm happy to share that with you all at our next meeting in forward. But that's kind of the gist of where everyone's at. I think right now everyone's really focused on this infrastructure package and what it means and how we're going to utilize that to best serve the the citizenry of our state.
Yeah, thank you. I think we shouldn't be above stealing good ideas from anybody, Scott. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no, Frank, trust me, that's one of the great things about our meetings is that we all as state energy offices share information and look at everyone's programs and see how we can take their successful programs and them ours and adapt it to what the needs are in our state and utilize that. So yes, we do that quite a bit. Are there any questions or comments about that? All right, great.
I apologize, Kelly. I didn't quite come off mute there fast enough. I have a kind of a related question about the Our Children's Trust work. I saw that press release come out on the website, and I wondered if you had any updates for us on the commissioner's position. That obviously that request is about 100% clean renewable energy, so I think it's probably relevant for this advisory council if there is an update to share.
I do not have an update. It is still being reviewed and looked at within our general counsel's office. And so that's the only update I can give you.
That's great. Thank you, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Kelly, it's Doug. I have a quick question. Have you heard anything about EPA expanding their biofuel feedstocks and are the other is NASIO looking at that?
I have not heard anything about that yet, Doug, but when I'm up there next week, I'll certainly ask for you because I think we'll have a couple of EPA folks at the meeting. So I'll certainly circle around on that and get you a response.
Yeah, I think there's maybe some opportunity in there that I think they've recategorized some plant that could now be used for biofuel, and it may open opportunities for Florida. So,
okay.
Thank you.
Yes, certainly. Any other questions or comments? All right, I'm going to move to next steps. So our next steps are, thank you all for completing the survey for our FACCE membership on meetings and then topic areas. We've had almost everyone respond. Of those who haven't, I'm going to reach out to them separately and talk with them. But what we're going to look at doing is the week of February 14th, we'll be sending out to you a few doodle polls as it relates to meeting dates for the rest of the year, so we can go ahead and lock those in and get that scheduled. So please be on the lookout for that. The majority of you, the vast majority of you, said that quarterly meetings would be best. So we'll look at doing a meeting every quarter, which would leave us about 3 meetings for the rest of the year. And we can add meetings in too if we need to, like we did with this one as we're moving through some of these topic areas. But we will be sending that out to you with some dates to see what works best for everyone. We're going to look at doing it in person. So we'll also send you some options for cities that you may prefer to see where it might be easier for everyone to get together. Excuse me. Also, too, in that survey, you all filled out a list of topic areas that you were interested in. So we'll be sending out a survey also the week of the 14th to have you rank those topic areas so that we can make sure that the ones that you all are most interested in, we make sure that we discuss and we can combine some in meetings and that type of thing. But we really want to get your feedback to make sure that, as we're meeting, we're addressing and discussing things that you all think are highly important. So if you'll just pay attention for both of those the week of the 14th, that would be great. And we can also too, if there are, like what Frank did in our meeting last week, if there are some other topic areas that you'd just like to have a quick brief on, or want us to highlight or discuss, please just let me know. I'm happy to add those to an agenda. We just want to make sure that we're responding to you. And as I said, if anything from this meeting comes up and you're looking at the slides that we're going to send to you, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. We're here to help and help provide you with whatever information you need. So just wanted to make you aware of those few things. So I'm going to move to public comment. If there are any members of the public that wish to ask a question or make a comment, this is your time to do so. All right. Hearing none. Oh, go ahead, Emily.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate it. Just 2 administrative items related to the next steps section of our agenda. I wanted to raise the request for a green harvesting presentation again. I got a notice that my survey response was not collected. I tried to re-enter it. The system gave me an error. So I just want to raise that again as an item for upcoming meeting topics. Green harvesting. I think that was related to the biofuels comment that we had a number of members bring up in the January meeting, but it's also a broader presentation on the economics is part of my request there. The other item I wanted to raise was about public notice and accessibility, especially if we are moving to a quarterly meeting schedule. Is it possible for us to raise the window of our public notice period? Could we maybe establish the meeting dates for the remainder of the year sometime in March? And then with regard to the agendas, I would love to see those come out even a month prior, I think 2 weeks at the minimum. I've had a number of members of the public reach out to me about concerns for accessibility to this advisory council. And so anything that we can do to make the public notice and the agendas available with more advance would be deeply appreciated. Thanks, Kelly.
Certainly. We will look into that. And I will say, just sometimes with the agenda, what we're looking at, it's not possible to get it out a month early. But we will certainly try to get it out as quickly as possible once it's finalized, so that folks can look at it. And the same with the FAW public notice.
Thank you, Kelly.
Of course. All right, any other comments? Questions? All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I know that we covered a lot of information very quickly, but I will say again, as you go back and review the slides, and we recorded this session, so we'll also post that on our website. If you have any questions or comments that come up, or if you're looking for items, hold on just a moment. Rhonda, I think you're trying to speak, but I don't know if you're off mute or not.
Hello?
We can hear you, but barely.
Oh, I don't know why that is.
Okay, you're coming in a little louder now.
Okay, I'm really sorry. I just wanted to alert everyone that I just posted in the chat the press release that Emily mentioned from Our Children's Trust, and also the link to the actual petition that was submitted to Nikki Fried on January 5th. I have a personal vested interest in this because one of the petitioners is my daughter, who is one of the plaintiffs in the Reynolds versus Florida climate lawsuit that has been recently dismissed. But so they are actually, as we speak, meeting with Commissioner Fried on this issue. And I know that a lot of you will be interested in having maybe a new tool in the toolbox to advance the cause of renewable energy. And I'm hoping that you'll take this opportunity to advocate on its behalf and encourage Commissioner Fried to grant the petition for rulemaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. So as I said, if anyone has any questions following this, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to answer any questions. We're happy to provide you with any additional information. I'm also happy to provide, I know some of you have requested some information, so we'll pull that together and provide that to the whole group once we have the information. But thank you all again for joining us today. We really appreciate your questions and your comments in the time that you have taken to be with us. So thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Enjoy the week.